Careful, Josh.
Every single qualified.
So someone's
Just throwing things in front of me.
really
Josh.
trying to find it, right?
Oh, Nate is
Yes, that's why he's chlorinating it. He's breaking the system down into sections, going out and testing them at between 2 and 4 in the morning.
Thank you, Nate.
Nate is on top of
He
it.
is,
This is looking for the leak?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna happen like in 3 days, and it's starting to come.
And we didn't know it needed to be
I must put you over the
chlorinated
top.
until Wednesday after Valerie.
Only because I signed.
I'm gonna,
This one is
you ready?
just signing into the
I
meeting.
Yes.
Just one more? Recording in progress.
Oh my gosh, I don't have it open. Let me make sure I have it.
So let's call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is any additions, removals, or modifications to the meeting agenda. Fred, you would like to add an item to an executive session about a possible litigation?
Yes,
Okay.
either tonight or next Monday.
Well, actually, let's play it by ear, but probably next Monday.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's taken care of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other changes to the agenda? Anybody here for the public forum? That's here for anything that's not otherwise on the agenda? George?
I couldn't hear it.
So I'm wondering if there's anybody here for the public forum, and the public forum is for anything that's not on the agenda.
He's here for a lot.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to open the public hearing. The Select Board scheduled a hearing to consider the adoption of a local option tax. And what we'd like to do is run through a few brief slides to give some background about what a lot is, what some of our considerations have been, and what I think what has made a majority of the Select Board want to consider it pretty strongly. But we do want to, we've been doing some outreach in the community, wanted to have a public hearing, and if it is going to the voters, it will be decided by the voters. So I'm going to run through a quick PowerPoint, and I would encourage any of the Select Board to weigh in and pile on or add something if I forget something if we go. So why don't we start? So what prompted us? We're in budget season, obviously, and we have been dealing with a lot of demands on the property tax lately. As you've probably heard, we had an RFP out to design a new town garage. It was reported in the paper that there are a lot of kind of facility needs at the fire station. We have a proposal, and the town voted to move forward with a wastewater project. We had hoped that there would be a lot more federal money available for that, but federal dollars seem to be drying up, and they don't seem to be coming back anytime soon. We have a number of bridges that need either replacement or restoration. The Covered Bridge in New Village is going to need a lot of work this year, and the Meadow Road Bridge has been downgraded to a vehicle weight that doesn't allow truck traffic over it. So that's a potential problem for the North Road in that part of town. We've had at least 2 floods in the last couple of years that have been expensive for the town. We'll hear in our budget report tonight that we got, I think, about a $60,000 reimbursement from FEMA, which covered a little bit more than half of the work that we did on some of our roads in July of '24. But we anticipate that those floods, those upland floods, burst of stormwater, is the new reality and something that we're going to deal with on a regular basis. And the board has talked about putting together an emergency response or emergency recovery fund, a reserve fund, so that we're able to deal with those and not have to dip into our operating budget when that happens. We've got projects being proposed tonight for transportation and recreation improvements. We do carry debt service on a number of past capital projects, including this building, the solar array, stormwater infrastructure improvements to Bridge Street. We are fortunate that we're paying down the debt service, so that's a good thing, but we expect things like the town garage are going to require us to borrow again. because we're just not gonna be able to take care of something like that in a one-year budget. And then the other thing we've talked about is the property tax, and how can we provide relief for the property tax. And one way I think some of us think we could do it is expand the tax base, expand the number of people paying into our infrastructure and capital improvements. So that's what's motivating us. And I want to emphasize again, I think it was a majority of the select board wanted to consider this. Well, I think we all want to consider it, but we're not all there yet, and that's fine. Anyhow, let's go on. So what is a local option tax? It's a tax of 1% on one or all of three things: sales, rooms and meals, and alcohol. We can pick and choose what ones to apply that to. Some of the information that we're going to be providing tonight came from the Mad River Valley Planning District, who did first an analysis of valley-wide local option tax opportunities, and then fine-tune that review for the town of Waitsfield and the town of Warren. And we're operating from the report. We'll give you information about how to access that at the end of the presentation. So this dates back, I think, to Act 60, to the late 90s, when the local option tax was authorized. At first, it was authorized for a select group of towns who were particularly hard hit by the state property tax. It's now available to all Vermont communities, and it requires a vote of the voters. And I'll mention in the past, the last time we had this discussion, it also required a charter change, the adoption of a charter, which needed to be approved by the legislature. That's no longer the case. It stays in the money comes to the town. Of the 1%, the town gets actually 75% of that amount, and the rest of the money goes to the state to pay for the payment in lieu of taxes money that goes to communities who have town property in them and don't pay property taxes, so they get a payment in lieu of
State
taxes.
property.
State property, sorry, yeah.
State property.
And that was raised 2 years ago from 70 to 75%.
Yes.
And there's been some speculation that it could be raised further. VLCT is advocating for that, I believe.
Yeah, as more towns adopt a lot, there's more money going into the state for that pilot project. So they had a surplus of money, and they were convinced to turn a larger piece of it over to the town. So one of the important things about it, and this is particular to the sales tax, is a sales tax is typically and rightfully considered a pretty regressive tax, that it often impacts the lowest income earners in a community because they pay a larger proportion of their tax than other people. But Vermont has really gone to great efforts to make it as progressive a sales tax as possible. It doesn't apply to groceries. It doesn't apply to most groceries. It doesn't apply to prescription and over-the-counter medications and medical projects, gasoline, residential heating and electricity, and municipal utilities like the water system, most business-to-business purchases, kind of wholesale purchases from buying inventory from another business. And what is that last?
Sorry. Yeah. and-
Oh, and most services. It doesn't.
The big, sorry.
Go ahead, Melissa.
The big takeaway from when I was first digging into this is that basically this is something that applies to discretionary purchases. It's rather than necessities or essentials. And I think that's a big part of why I personally am more comfortable exploring this further.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that. If it's a retail tax and you want to hit the hardware stores and the lumberyard and everything, those are items that you need to maintain your home and everything. I don't know if that's discretionary. And those three items, the two hardware stores and Arcade Miles, are probably the three biggest retailers that will be hit.
Yeah, I mean,
So I don't know if you can say it's discretionary.
that's fine. I think the bottom line is things that the state does not already apply sales tax to will not be affected by the local option tax either, so.
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned, in 2020, the town did consider a charter change that would allow it to adopt a local option tax in the future. And that was turned down. A couple of things have changed. The percentage of the revenue that comes to the community has increased. But I think more importantly, that proposal at the time, it wasn't really a solid proposal. There was a group of leaders from different towns who were talking about putting together a valley-wide local option tax that would be spent on valley-wide projects to be selected by some valley-wide panel or organization. And there was a lot of uncertainty around it and a lot of kind of a lack of transparency because they just didn't have, the folks who were working on it hadn't had the answers yet. They wasn't clear what kind of projects. Housing was one of them that was identified. It wasn't clear whether infrastructure would be included, and it was not going to be determined by town voters or town select boards. It was going to be a valley-wide decision-making body. And what we have talked about is very specifically, if a lot is enacted, to restrict it to capital projects and infrastructure for Waitsfield. You know, town garage, fire station, Meadow Road Bridge, wastewater, whatever the project is, but just the capital projects. Don't use it for operating, but use it to pay for our infrastructure that service the community and service the visitors to the community as well as town residents.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna jump in. Another thing that's changed is in 2020, most of our neighbors, our commercial neighbors, had not gone down this road. Since then, in the 5.5 years since then, Stowe, Waterbury, Berlin, Barry, Montpelier already had one.
They adopted last year.
They expanded it last year. They went to all 4 categories. So now we have Berlin, Barry, Montpelier, Stowe, pretty much all of Chittenden County, Shelburne, South Burlington, Winooski, Colchester, Essex, Williston, Middlebury, Brandon, Rutland. A lot of our commercial neighbors have now adopted a local option tax in all 4 categories, or in all 3 categories. And just to explain that, the categories, it's meals and alcohol go together, right? I believe.
Yeah.
You can do sales, rooms, and meals and alcohol. So that's another big thing that's changed. And it also gave people looking at the numbers, the planning district, a lot of examples to look at and feedback from other towns.
So again, just the types of things that it can be used for. I mentioned infrastructure and flood recovery. It can also be used for things like to help affordable housing directly. Waterbury put some of their money to a housing trust. It can be used for economic development. Killington has used theirs in the past to promote economic development and tourism in the community. There is some flexibility, but again, at this point, our hope is to, if it does pass, to use it for our local infrastructure. Yeah, good. Well, yeah, I just answered this one, or just reviewed this one. Again, it can be used for a variety of capital projects and things, and to reduce the pressure on the property tax.
Keep moving, Larissa.
I know. I don't want to lose her.
So, what the study from the Mad River Valley Planning District that Sam Robertson and Josh Schwartz did identified that it would likely result in about $600,000 a year of revenue. That's about, what, a quarter of our budget. And one thing I didn't mention is that one of the reasons that other communities have seen that the revenue projections that they had ended up creating more revenue because nobody tracks online sales until you have a lot. And when you have online sales, that is subject to the tax, subject to the same restrictions that other goods have. You know, it doesn't tax food or clothes, but it does tax other online sales, which are arguably more discretionary than your essential needs. So I don't think there's anything new there.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
I think that bottom point is worth
Yeah.
Yeah.
emphasizing just that right now, for the town of Waitsfield, our only means of revenue is through the property tax, right? We get a little bit of revenue from the state highway grants and things like that,
And
but
fees, but just not a big ticket.
it's small. This becomes a available source of revenue to us that, to the town, that $600,000 mentioned there, that the town residents only pay a portion of, right? Of our visitors, local visitors and visitors from afar. And you saw how many people are in town this weekend. It's awesome. That's what our community thrives on. They would be paying a very significant portion of that tax. So it's,
1/3.
were you driving around town this weekend? There's a
1/3.
lot of people.
No, I don't,
I don't think that's correct.
According to Josh's.
no, Josh's estimate was 18, that 18% would be funded by
I can check.
Waitsfield residents.
Yeah.
And that isn't what his chart says.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Right there. It's plain.
So again, what the Mad River Valley Planning District did estimate was that 82% of the tax, and give or take 2 to 5%, would be paid for by non-Waitsfield residents. And one other change that happened since the last time this was talked about was the administration has been made easier. Basically, the tax is collected by the business, just like the state sales tax is. And then it's transferred to the state with the quarterly tax returns that businesses do. And the state takes care of all the administration and writes the town a check. So it's not an extra burden on businesses. But the state does collect, I think it's a $6 fee per tax return that eats a little bit into the 75% of the pot that goes to the town. But it's not excessive. It's relatively small.
And the numbers that the planning district put together, I believe, take that into account to the extent that we're able to estimate that, which is arguably limited because these are, projections based on the best data we have.
Up to 600,000 accounts for that fee that gets charged. So Dave mentioned all the other communities who have adopted a lot. A lot of the other resort and ski towns have done it, especially in the southern part of the state, but also Jay and Stowe. Some towns we haven't done it that are in the same position as Waitsfield that are considering it a lot this year include Bristol, Heinsberg, and Morristown, and I think Cambridge.
Cambridge, yep.
So, so it is becoming a pretty common thing across the state. Go ahead. So that's what we're here for tonight. We have individually done a little bit of outreach to businesses, local businesses, and other folks in town. Like any tax proposal, there's a mixed response. I think when people understand our infrastructure needs, they may not still support it, but I think they're more sympathetic of the position that we're in, and the fact that the pressure on our property tax is not going to go away, it's just going up, as folks have note every year at town meeting. So if we were to do it, we would put it on the town meeting. It would likely be on the ballot, the Australian ballot, for a March vote. And then what happens is the state starts applying it within 90 days after they're notified for the next quarter. So it would go into effect on July 1 if voters supported it at town meeting. So this is just the summary. We really have some big ticket items ahead of us. We have a housing crisis that isn't going to be solved without infrastructure, including, or most importantly, wastewater. Federal dollars are going away. We found that when we started working on this round of the wastewater plant, we thought, there's an infrastructure bill, there's a ARPA, American Recovery Act bill. That money is being clawed back, and the federal government's not playing the same role as they were. And I'm finding, I've been active with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns lately. I was voted on their board in October. The transportation fund is in serious trouble in Vermont, and as folks have been noticing, we haven't had as much responsiveness from the transportation department for V-Trans for basic needs. When we were trying to get our crosswalks painted, they just said, we don't have the money for it. I think it was enough local residents contacting V-Trans that made them find the money, but that shouldn't be the case. And we're worried about the other kind of maintenance. V-Trans has made it known that they would like the town to take over Route 100 as a Class 1 highway within the villages. I don't think we need to, we have not said that we would do that, and I'm not inclined to take on extra expenses, but that's the kind of position and situation that our state is in. So they're not filling the void left by the federal government by any stretch. Again, I think it is a more progressive sales tax. Fred's right, hardware, recreation equipment, that would all be subject to it. It would all be subject to it for all visitors. It's not just Waitsfield residents who shop at Bisbee's or Kenyon's or Clearwater. You know, it's the valley and it's visitors. This says negligible impact on business competitive and consumer behavior when studied. That's based on the town of Morrisville is doing Morristown is considering putting a lot on their ballot this March. And they asked Jeff Carr, who's an economist. He's actually the economist for the administration. If you saw in the news lately that the legislature met with the governor to talk about revenue forecasts in next year's budget, it's Jeff Carr and a guy named Tom Cavett, who's another economist for the Joint Fiscal Office for the legislature. They do the budget projections, they do the economic analysis, and Jeff's conclusion was, based on his analysis, it doesn't put local businesses at a disadvantage, and that's especially true as more and more communities adopt a lot. And the communities have, I think he found, have not seen a decrease in business activity.
Yeah, and just to put that into hard numbers, right, let's say Waitsfield would adopt a lot, and there's another town with a ski shop that does not have one, and you decide it's time for a $1,000 pair of skis, right? If you decide to go to another town, you'll pay $10 less, okay? So I just want to put it in perspective. And also, if you come to Waitsfield, $750 of your $10 that you paid will be going directly to the Waitsfield municipal budget. So that kind of putting things into context.
So there are online resources. The MRVPD study is on the town's webpage. The state Department of Taxation has a good site with a lot of information about the local option tax. I know it's probably hard just to write this down, but you can just go to the Waitsfield webpage and find it pretty easily. I think it's on the landing page, right?
Yep, it's a post on the bottom right.
And then just Google it, you can go right to the state. So, yes.
So I am in favor. I am curious.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you please ask people to identify themselves? Thanks, Larissa.
Sorry.
Larissa, it's Doug Bergstein. Oh, that was Lisa.
That was Lisa.
Lisa, it's Doug Bergstein.
I was going to say the same thing, so.
I am curious. It seems like a no-brainer to me, so I'm curious, what are the arguments against? Maybe I don't understand.
That's my question too. Plus on your ski analogy, it seems like you'd have to drive 100 miles to find a place that doesn't already have the tax. So you're not going to save it anyway.
Yeah,
that was a good perspective.
Who is that who is speaking, please?
Jimmy Centerfit from Waitsfield.
Thank you.
You know, it will put an additional burden on people who shop for non-exempt items in town. You know, they'll pay 1%, and I think that there's, many people have an opposition to increasing any taxes.
Yeah, the planning district analysis, using the estimates that they came up with about what percent of residents would paid a lot versus visitors both from out of state, foreign, and our neighbors from the valley and closer by, that on average it would cost $186 per household, an additional cost per year, or $86 per Waitsfield resident. That, if you read the memo or the analysis, to raise $600,000 or almost $600,000 with equivalent property tax increases, obviously the impact depends on the assessed value of your home, but a $300,000 assessed value home would be $451 per Waitsfield household. 450, $677, and then can extrapolate from there. And so even if my personal perspective, I agree, Doug, is even if the estimates are wildly off, and instead of 18% Waitsfield residents paying, it's 40%, which I don't think is likely, given some. I can talk about some studies that have been done in the past about kind of zip code surveys that retailers have done here. It still would be less expensive, right? Even if that $186 was increased by 100 or so, it's still less than property tax increases equivalent on even a $300,000 assessed home. So, property taxes are really high, and I'm speaking for myself, and I think a lot of us, is that we don't want that to keep going on because of the municipal budget needs that we're going to have. The farmers need to cross the Meadow Road Bridge, and we're going to need a town garage that doesn't leak and fits our trucks. And so that's my perspective.
Yeah, Emily Bellavo. I just have a question. So you can do 3 categories: retail, rooms, meals, and alcohol. How much needs to be decided ahead of the vote around which categories are going to get selected? And then how much flexibility is there after a vote has been had?
Great question.
Yeah, I think the decision needs to be made to put each of those taxes to the voters, so that decision needs to be made up front. And the $600,000 is based on all of the taxes. It can be changed by the voters at a future date. It can be repealed, or what most towns, or many towns have seen, and I've seen this in Waterbury and in Stowe, they'll start with one, rooms and meals or alcohol, and then have added them over time. And that's why most of the towns, but not all of them, have all 3 of them. Some of them started out without them. But anyhow, any of the decisions are made by a vote of the town.
Add to that the vast majority of the benefit to the town, the $600,000 of revenue, would come from the sales tax. And that would be retail sales in, brick and mortar buildings in town, and online sales, deliveries from Amazon or wherever to your mailbox. It's on the order of 80%, I think, would come from retail.
And just real quick on how binding is it? By state law, if in this case, it would be the select board recommending to put these on the ballot. If they are passed, it would go into effect July 1st if we tell them that it passed in March. And then in coming years, it's not just up to the select board whether there's a vote to repeal it if people feel really, really strongly and it's not working. A petition of 10% of the municipality's voters submitted to the town will trigger a repeal vote. So it's not, if the select board wants to keep it, there's still a mechanism to go to the voters directly.
George? George?
My name is George Shank. Just for the record, I am not a resident of Waitsfield. I'm a resident of Warren, but I have a business in Waitsfield. I am sympathetic to the need for additional revenue. Everything that was listed are all really good things for us as a society to be doing. I do have some concerns about the LOT in terms of its equity to our society. First, let me just point out that the restaurant business and hospitality already pays a 50% sales tax premium. The regular sales tax is 6%. Hospitality pays 9%, and then 10% on alcohol. So, and the original logic for that was that it was a luxury to go out to dinner, and so that maybe luxuries we could reasonably think would be taxed at a higher rate. And secondly, that extra money between the 6 and the 9% that the state would use to help market the state, which would be to the benefit of hospitality. Well, it turns out the state doesn't spend all that money. And so we're giving money to the state that we're not really receiving back that way. Another thing that I think that is important to recognize is that there is not one visitor who ever has come to Vermont who has ever paid money to the state of Vermont in their sales tax. All of the money that the state collects is paid by local businesses. Now, it's true that the businesses tack on that extra charge, but what that means for the business is that for every $100 we bring in, we have to deliver $109.3 of value. And the way that businesses become sustainable is by continuing to provide value to the guest experience so that people either come back or they recommend the place to someone else. If the value isn't there, that kind of sustainability in the business does not happen. And I think that there's a fundamental problem with the sales tax, is that the sales tax, which was written decades and decades ago, has not kept up with changes in our economy. One of the things that was really telling was how much is exempted. Why is it that we think that it's appropriate for one sector of the economy to carry this burden for the whole economy? My general observation is that we, in the restaurant business, I sell a brownie, and whatever the charge is for the brownie, and then we charge the extra 9%. You can get a brownie at the grocery store. All you have to do is open the bag and put it in your mouth. And there was no sales tax on that. So we have an unequal playing field here. I think that further, that what's important to recognize is that the brick and mortar retail and the hospitality industry are not particularly economically healthy. That brick and mortar stores are really struggling with this phenomena of competition from internet sales. And the hospitality industry has not so far at least recovered from the changes that happened with COVID. Costs are up dramatically, and the number of people dining out has not returned to what it was. So what we're doing is proposing to further tax that sector of our economy that's already paying a tax premium. And there are other sectors of the economy that doesn't pay any tax. I think that it's absolutely appropriate and fair that we do not tax necessities like fresh vegetables and meats and dairy and sugar and flour. But does that apply to a bag? So we shouldn't tax a bag of potatoes. But does that apply to a bag of potato chips? Is Coca-Cola a necessity that shouldn't get taxed? It doesn't. We don't tax beverages.
It does. Soft drinks, that's a relatively recent change, but soft drinks
So I think that the problem with this proposal is that our current sales tax is not very equitable. And the other thing that I would say is that when it comes to infrastructure, particularly roads and bridges and stuff, my sense of this is that the people who should pay for that are the people who are using it. and the people who are using it are in their cars and trucks. I think that this is a place where, at the state level, we should be looking at changing the gasoline tax so that there's more money available for the legitimate and needed infrastructure improvements that you've recognized that the town needs. Your analysis is correct. We need more public revenue for this public good. The real question is that where does that come from in a way that's fair and equitable to the society and to the businesses that we have here? Another example of this is that there are businesses that benefit from tourism that don't pay the tourist premium tax. Every real estate attorney who does a deal where they work through a real estate deal for a condominium or a rental or a house, and they sell it to an out-of-state person, they are the direct beneficiaries of tourism. But there wasn't any 9% premium sales tax to them. The grocery stores are absolutely packed with
George,
people.
there is a property transfer tax.
Huh?
There is a property transfer tax.
Yeah, but it's not 9%. There's this ultra premium being placed on hospitality. And if you look at exceptions, well, maybe should you accept food and beverage because we're already paying a 50% premium? Or should we try, and I don't think that's realistic. What I do think is the better approach here is for thoughtful people like you guys and for other towns to band together and to approach the state and say, we need more funding for our road infrastructures, and we need a different kind and more equitably distributed sales tax so that more businesses are contributing. And so maybe all the sales tax could come down. And that the burden of making these social improvements would be more equitably shared by the whole society.
Thank you, George. Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other? Josh?
Yeah, so Josh Turka, I'm both a town resident and a business owner in this town. And I appreciate everything that George said, but I also run a business. Some of our items are taxed, some of them are not. Some of them are grocery exempt. We deal with both meals and alcohol tax. But one contrast that I would point out that I don't think fully got covered by George is the property tax burden and the aim for this to alleviate it. While I don't disagree that in an ideal world we would be able to look at a statewide tax and change these things and have more money coming to us from the state, I think the reality is that in the near term, that's just not an option that is likely to go through. Correct me if I'm wrong, I would love for more money to come from the state or the federal government. In the meantime, my business, both at the moment and in the past, has had people who are traveling 30 or 45 minutes to come to work because they cannot afford to live in town. I think that that is the biggest problem with every business in town, and especially with hospitality businesses where margins are slim and our ability to pay our staff is minimal. I would love to pay all my staff, $100+ grand a year. It's just not reasonable with the margins we're bringing in. And so if we just see a continued increase in property taxes, it's going to mean that our workers have to move further and further away. And then do they really choose to travel all the way into the valley when they can stop and work in Bristol, in Montpelier, in Waterbury, et cetera? And so I think that's a really vital point to go through here. I would also say that I certainly appreciate the burden that restaurants are paying on this. But another one, I spent a lot of time talking with a number of the inn and bed and breakfast owners in town. They're already struggling with attracting guests to their inns as opposed to being pulled up to Sugarbush in the mountains. All those taxes would be in Waitsfield. So if we try and push all this burden just onto, say, rooms, which is going to be entirely out-of-town residents, we are only potentially further hurting them and maybe limiting our revenue rather than doing this across the board. My one question, and I would say I'm in support of this, is there an alternative option that the town could be looking at aside from raising property taxes? Because to me, while we should be advocating to the state and should continue advocating to the state whether or not this goes through, if there's nothing we can do except raise our property taxes, this feels like a no-brainer in terms of a much better option, if not ideal.
It's a really great question, and I thought George made a lot of great points, and there are a lot of things that we could lobby the legislature to do, get energy to make some of those changes. But Vermont is a Dillon rule state for lawyers. I don't know, I'm a lawyer. I won't explain too far, but basically it means that the Vermont municipalities are only allowed to do what the state has by statute allowed us to do. So this is the only thing that they have allowed us to do to raise town revenue. There is no, we can't be creative. We have the option to put a local option tax of 1% on these three categories, and that's it. Anything else we could possibly do would have to be approved by the legislature, and I think that's a longer road. They've been pretty steadfast in saying this is your remedy available to you.
I feel as if this is, I really appreciated the perspective that George brought to the table here. And this is feeling like these are not mutually exclusive considerations and conversations. And I think it's a matter of sort of recognizing, as Josh was saying, sort of what tools are legitimately in our toolbox as a town and as a community, while also identifying that it would be really great if we could come together and also influence more of the external system around us that gives us the ability to make other positive changes. So I don't think that it's a one or the other kind of thing, but I do think in terms of acute needs and immediate impacts, that the tools that we have at our disposal, it to me feels like the most equitable tool that we have at this point to make it so that everyone who is using our infrastructure as this sort of central commercial hub of the valley is helping to contribute to its upkeep. But those are my 2 cents.
Josh? Oh, Robin, go ahead.
Yeah. It seems to me that you're going to do the infrastructure improvements, whatever happens. And we talk about increasing taxes, but this is a proposal to decrease taxes for the residents of Waitsfield. I mean, the way I look at it, on a 450,000 property, you're going to save $600 a year in taxes. And the planning district advocating that you're going to spend $186 on lot. So that's a 3-to-1 relationship. But no one's really talked about the long term here. That's over 5 years, that's over $2,000. I mean, it's a lot of money that we're going to save people of Waitsfield. But more importantly, we've got to allow the select board to make those infrastructure improvements, because the infrastructure improvements are going to be the lifeblood of the town.
Thank you.
Yeah, my point was very much in line with that. George made a really good point, I think, about businesses, retail, hospitality needing to provide value to their customer. Town's in really the same position. If we let our bridges fail and close and our roads aren't paved, and the sidewalks are all cracked and chipped and you can't ride your bike on them or walk on them anymore, it's the same impact. People stop coming to the valley or to Waitsfield if we let that happen. So this is a way to me to kind of stabilize the property tax, solves an equity issue, a different equity issue than George mentioned from my view, in that if we put the cost of maintaining and building that infrastructure all on the property taxpayer, it's a huge, we heard a 25% increase. That would just be to match the revenue from the LOT tax. To really take care of all our infrastructure needs, if we did it all at once, it would be more like a 50% increase in our property tax, and clearly that is a non-starter. We've seen the pressure that the education spending has put on the education portion of the property tax. We desperately need other sources of revenue to be able to provide that value to our customers, our visitors, and agree with what's already been said. This is a way to share that. My calculation is like for every dollar we put in as Waitsfield residents that we pay in the local option tax, our visitors are going to pay for. And that could be a visitor from Warren or Facein, or that could be a visitor from Massachusetts or New York. But still that 4-to-1 match, it's getting towards what George said of the people that use the infrastructure ought to pay for it. So we are, again, kind of sharing that load with our visitors and guests that use the infrastructure.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to George's point, just a little ray of hope. You know, they are talking about changes all the time in Montpelier about changes to the sales tax. I know 2 years ago they had a big study. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but you can go look it up online where they looked. It was an analysis of the sales tax as it is now and the exemptions, and looking at potentially, you know, and how services have climbed as a percent of the economy, and potentially looking at broadening that to make some tweaks. And, you know, I haven't read it cover to cover, but potentially reversing some of those alcohol and meals is part of that. And I think I'd be in favor of, you know, continuing to be an advocate as a community for that, as it really does hit our community harder.
I guess the question comes, what does the advocacy look like? Is it real? You know, you pass this tax, and then now you have the money, and it just sort of, everything else falls away. You know, it won't, what's going to really be the burning issue to create more tax equity? I mean, this, to me, it's, I don't really understand the civic logic of taxing one element of our business community 50% more than other elements, and to have third elements not pay any tax at all. And I think this is the foundational problem with the proposal of, we're talking about increasing the inequity in this proposal, rather than really solving the problem. I have no disagreement that the investments in the infrastructure and all the other, in housing and all that other stuff should happen and needs to happen. The only question is, how do we as a society pay for it in a way that's fair to the members of the society? I think that business has a really important responsibility to pay taxes. But I also think that everybody needs to chip in. And, you know, in the food world, is that we had this idea that, you know, if somebody's making a dinner for you, that's a luxury. We should pay more tax for that. But our grocery stores have created convenience foods. What the grocery store sells today is vastly different than what Tommy Heron's grandfather stocked in 1941. Mm-hmm. And that difference is almost completely driven by convenience. Convenience is another way of saying, I hired somebody else to do work that I didn't have to do. If you're rich enough to hire somebody else to do work you don't have to do, maybe you should pay a tax on that. But our system has not evolved to that point. And I think this is, to me, I would be happy to pay 10% tax if everybody else was. So it's not a question of being unwilling or thinking that the goals are unworthy. It's really a question of how do we do this in a way that's fair to the members of the society.
Michelle?
I'll stand up so I could see you, George. Have you thought, George, that maybe when people go to a grocery store and they buy what we may call convenience, prepared things, they may be doing this because they're working 2 or 3 jobs and they no longer have time to cook a full meal from scratch, and eating out is a luxury, and people who who have to pay property taxes and who are hit the hardest may never have chance to eat out. Have you thought, maybe it's just a little different way, I'm sorry if I'm not speaking loud enough, maybe it's a different way of looking at why things have changed because of how much we're asking people to work today versus in 1950, as you referred to, one member of the family could easily stay home and just take care of home. And now everybody has to work multiple jobs.
There are a lot of global inequities.
It's a tough time right now.
We are trying to navigate our budget with the tools that are available to us. I think you've made excellent points, George, about the larger societal challenges we face. We're really focused on making this town as functional and providing the best services possible at the most reasonable cost to our residents. And this is really the only tool that provides us with the opportunity to do that in a way that expands the tax base significantly. So, Fred?
I think Josh and Sam did a most excellent job in presenting a logical argument for the lot. I am opposed to it on philosophical reasons. Vermont is the third heaviest tax state in the nation. We have a decreasing population. So many of my friends, close friends, have moved out of Vermont because they can live cheaper elsewhere. Good people, people that we require to run our community, to run the stores and everything. My very own sister sold her house for good money and moved out of state because she could live cheaper elsewhere. That really saddens me. It really does. And by adding more taxes just increases the affordability problem that we have. We can't tax ourselves into prosperity. We have a very high property tax, and very little of that property tax actually goes to the municipality. We send the majority of that property tax that we collect here to Montpelier for the school tax. We also have a lot of trouble with health care. We pay a lot for health care that other states don't have. I'm very much against the retail tax because that tax is going to be paid by the majority of the folks right here in town. I talked to one of the owners of one of the major retailers here in town, and I asked him what he thought about the lot tax, as equally, as unbiasedly as I could ask him. He said, well, I voted for it, I voted against it half a dozen years ago. This time around, oh, I don't know, he says, I might vote for it, I might not, I haven't really decided. And then he says, but it probably won't affect me much because I'm retiring in 2 years and I'm moving out of state because the taxes are too high. Taxes are too high. And I maintain if we could keep more of the property tax that we collect and not send it to Montpelier, we wouldn't be having this discussion today. It's the less affluent persons in town that are getting hit the most, that are packing their bags and leaving. And those are the people that we need to run our town, our valley. And I can't vote for something that's going to increase that pain.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to appreciate that, Fred, but I want to reiterate from my perspective that in a couple of years, if this is not passed, I believe we will all pay more than if this had been passed. And I don't want to be in that situation Or we'll be in a situation where if we decide not to replace the Meadow Road Bridge, or not to make some repairs on our covered bridges, or not to do a town garage that's needed, I think, for me, that's the choice, is whether we want to pay less in taxes by passing this. Yes, there's a 1% increase in our discretionary consumption, as we've discussed. But if we're going to raise that amount of money, I'd rather raise 4 out of every $5 of it from people who don't live here, because otherwise it's going to go all on our backs. And so that's my perspective. And I mentioned earlier, you can look at the cars in the parking lots. The Agency for Housing and Community Development, or Community Development, did a study in 2013 where there was a basket of local businesses, and they did a zip code survey every transaction that was done. There was one period in mid-October during foliage season and one in January. And they said, what's your zip code? And in the October one, it was 26% from Waitsfield, and then the January one, it was 22%. So we know that even just on visits, it's a very high number of people who would be supporting the town and our necessary infrastructure without Waitsfield residents paying for it. And that, to me, is convincing.
So we've gone for just about an hour. Are there any closing comments or final thoughts? Yes.
I appreciate as a newcomer just being new and listening to tough issues. What you're talking about here is a challenge. It's a microcosm of the macrocosm of Vermont and the struggle against how do you maintain being small and individual and get an economy of scale that lets you compete. You've mentioned a lot of really important stuff about things that are going to happen in terms of revising tax structures and making tax collected and distributed more equitable. But we have fundamental issues that are going to take a big broad band of the state key population centers to decide. The tail just doesn't wag the dog. What we can do is right here in the valley, and the infrastructure needs are just crying, and I think it does matter to people as they drive through. And I think I'm beginning to appreciate the fact that we got to compete with Warren and Sugarbush. I go to Shark 5 days a week to work out. But I think about stopping where I stop and spending money where I spend it locally, and I think about spending money locally as much as I can in support of people's needs here. But that doesn't really address or solve the issues. The issues are just bigger and broader, and you got to maintain momentum. So I'll forget my last idea, which was a congestion traffic fee for Facein and Warren people coming through, because people like me that live on commuter roads know that there's a lot of people on the other side of town that drive by, and I'm not sure they're paying for the potholes they're creating when they go by. But
it works in New York City, but I don't think we have that authority, as Dave said.
If I could just add one final thought. I'm enormously grateful for a hospitality that Waitsfield has offered me. I came here a little over 40 years ago as a stranger, and this community welcomed me and gave me a chance to have a living. And so I'm very supportive of your work and your aspirations, and it's been my honor to be a part of this. Thank you.
It goes both ways, George. You've run a great business, and you've helped make Waitsfield a destination. Flatbread has been a big deal for the community, and we want to make sure we can support future flatbreads.
It's kind of you to say thank you.
Yeah, Josh Turka again. Just my last kind of comment to the select board is I think we've heard a lot of great arguments both for and reasonable arguments against this tax, and I think I would really advocate highly for the select board to put this on the ballot for town meeting day in March. I think that, Fred, you have a very reasonable comments and concerns here, and I think one of the beautiful things of where we live is this town meeting day where everyone in town can be a part of it and say their piece and really vote. Growing growing up, I'm also a transplant to the Valley and feel very welcomed here. And coming from Philadelphia and then Boston, I never had the opportunity and never watched any of my parents have the opportunity to have these conversations. I think it's really important to remember that while we're all very wound up here tonight, this is not any sort of decision-making process except to allow the town to make a decision. And I think that there's a really strong argument that maybe the town won't make this decision, but I think as a select board, you have the ability to put it to the broader voter base, and I think that that is the most important thing that you all can do. The amount of things happening in the world today that everyone around me just wishes they had a say in, even if you agree in it. Like, we don't all have to want this to happen, but we have the ability to have a say, and I think that that's the most important thing here.
Thanks, Joe.
And just an aside, Dave and Emily and I have been doing some research and doing outreach to parents and other folks to try to make our town meeting as robust and well-attended as possible, so I think we're gonna see some improvements this year.
Awesome.
Cool, thank everybody for coming. We still have a pretty long agenda, so I would like to move on to the next item. Thank you. Larissa?
So is there any sort of decision-making process on whether or not we're putting it on the ballot?
I thought we don't have the ballot ready, the warning, and I'm not planning on finalizing it tonight. Would you like to do that?
I just want to throw my 2 cents in that I would like to see it on the ballot, and I would like to do what Josh has proposed and put it to the voters. I also recognize that my ability to be present is going to be limited, so if you can give me a heads up on when I can vote for that in a more official capacity, that would be great, and I'll do my best to be there. But otherwise, I just want, for the record, to say that I would vote in favor of putting it on the ballot. Thank you so much, Josh, for coming.
Absolutely, thank you, Larissa, I appreciate being here. It's an incredibly difficult.
Hold on a second. Josh and Fred? So, I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
Just given Marissa's circumstances and coming, that she would like to.
So we need to finalize, thanks, Eric. Our warning next Monday at the latest. Larissa won't be here, and she is advocating that we put it on the ballot. And I guess the question is, do we want to make that decision
I think the language is not as crucial unless there are restrictions placed on the funds, which I don't think any of us are advocating for, because of our intent to use it for capital improvements and property tax relief. But I think it would be advancing the ball to vote to put on the ballot a 1% local option tax for the 3 categories of sales, rooms, and meals and alcohol.
And if we're really not comfortable with having that be something that gets codified this evening, if you can just tell me when to show up, I can delegate that.
Well, I think
probably, I hope.
This would advance the ball on putting it on the ballot and getting that language prepared, and then we could approve the specific language next week if it passes.
I think we can do that.
So I would make that motion to.
What is the motion?
I would make a motion to prepare ballot language to put a 1% local option tax on the town meeting, or the March, what's the date?
Australian ballot.
Yeah, the Australian ballot, for those 3 categories of sales, rooms, and meals and alcohol, and any legalese can be worked out later. But those are the three main categories.
So there'd be 3 articles.
I believe so.
I don't know yet whether it'd be 3 or 1. It would be authorizing, proposing authorizing all of them, whether it's a single vote or 3 votes. I have not.
A single article.
Neither of us have talked to our attorney about the ballot. We have a couple other things we need to make sure we're getting right on it too, so we plan on doing that this week.
But we didn't want to, move forward and engage attorney time before we had had an official select board vote.
Okay. So if we voted on your motion tonight, we would have potentially another vote to approve the specific language.
We would vote on the whole warning, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. So I support that.
You second that?
I'm seconding.
Okay. Discussion?
Can you read that over again?
I'd make a motion to place a 1% local option tax for the three categories, or the categories of sales, rooms, and meals and alcohol on the Australian ballot in March.
With final language.
With final language to be decided and approved next week, I believe is our deadline.
And you seconded that?
Yes.
I would like to see 3 articles. A vote on a lot tax for each individual category, not all 3 lumped together.
Well, we can
I think
look into that.
We can talk about that and have those 2 possibilities.
Right
for
now, we're authorizing drafting.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
Thanks.
Larissa, you got anything to add?
Excuse me?
What was that, York?
I'm sorry, I just said I'm taking that note, Fred. I heard you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything additional.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Opposed? Great,
right.
moving forward.
Thanks, Larissa.
Let's move on to
Thank
the
you.
regular meeting
Thank you.
agenda. And Steve, can you join us? And folks, here for other budget reasons, we'll get a little idea of where we are tonight with the budget.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. I'm Steve Lewis, the town treasurer, co-treasurer, I guess, with Sandra Gallup. So we're presenting the budget status report for fiscal year 26 through the first 2 quarters ending December 31st. I know you've all seen this, the draft of this. I'll give the highlights. At a high level, revenue and expenditures are to budget. We have received 58% of the budgeted revenue, and we've expended 6% of the projected expenditures, which is pretty typical. We are looking at both the general fund and also the capital fund. As I mentioned, the revenue is consistent with the budget projections. We have received grant revenue of approximately $67,000. We already talked about this a little bit in the meeting. The great majority of that, $60,000, is related to the July 24th flood, which is a great reimbursement, certainly for the town. We have also received prepayments on taxes, which is also consistent with what we've seen in years past. We have $748,000 of collected revenues from taxes that are essentially prepayments. That has led the select board to invest $600,000 of the funds in the general fund in a CD, earning 3.54% with Northfield Savings Bank. That'll be maturing in September, although we typically have them mature in May. There's no any sort of payment penalty or withdrawal penalty with Northfield. So we typically take that out in May to fund the remaining budget items. So there won't be any issue there. But we continue to earn a good percent on those investments. On the expenditure side, there's really nothing out of line with the budget. As is the case every year, the road budget and the overtime labor is a huge component to the final projections for year end. We're running a little bit ahead of that. Some of that is just timing based on the winter and what happens. So again, there's really nothing out of the ordinary there. We have funded $300,000 from the general fund into reserves per the special articles of the town meeting, primarily for paving, town garage, and the White House capital account. On the reserve side, the town also has a $1.3 million CD on the same terms, 3.54% for 9 months. We have no new loan activity in fiscal year 26 to date.
Steve, is that other CD, is that earmarked for paying our state education tax?
It is not, no. That is just the grouping of reserve funds that we have.
Okay,
We took projected unexpended funds that we're not going to need and invested in the CD. Same thing that we did last year. And we earned a lot of interest last year and anticipate to do the same this year, which is great with the interest rates. Capital expenditures, we've made 2 expenditures so far this year, $179,000 on a bucket loader for the road department and $131,000 for a new dump truck for the road department. On the grant side, we're expecting reimbursement funds for the Irisville planning grant. That will be roughly $44,000. Should be forthcoming. And I know that there's questions on, you're going to ask me this, Brian, about the unassigned fund balance. The unassigned fund balance is a little bit of a moving target, but it's estimated to be approximately $600,000. We're just finalizing the FY25 audit right now. We'll have a more firm number, but that's what we're estimating it to be at this point. That's all I had to report. Any questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Question on the 300 grand of undesignated fund balance, that's essentially budget surplus from prior years, right? Unspent funds from prior years' budgets. That's kind of included in this year's expenditures as a transfer to the reserve, which was a special article we approved.
Correct.
It feels weird to me, honestly, to include that in this year's expenditures. Comparing that to last year, it makes us look like we've spent a lot more than last year. Really, that was, to me, that's a little bit of a different animal. And you take that out, and our spending is kind of the percentage of the total budget we've spent through half the year. This year is about the same as half the year last year. So I didn't want people to take away, geez, we're spending way faster than years prior.
Right, I mean, we've included
It's really
things that we...
one line item.
Exactly.
Driving that.
That's a fair point, and we've I mean, it's a good thing that the town's able to afford that.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're still pretty much right at budget on the expenditure side, so.
And our policy is to carry a balance of 2 months of operating funds, and that's about, what, 475? So we still have a healthy, although several of us have talked about whether 2 months is adequate given climate change and what we're facing.
Right. And that's what you alluded to earlier with some of the reserves for disasters and that sort of thing.
And Fred, what was, I had called it emergency recovery. You had a more
All
of a-
hazards?
Yeah.
That's the emergency.
What is it?
All
hazards.
hazards.
We tried to remember before, we just couldn't.
It's an emergency management term.
Okay.
Regardless of what the disaster is, snow, ice,
Yeah.
whatever, all hazards.
I love it.
Okay, good, I'm going.
Any other questions for Steve?
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you
Have
very
a nice
much.
day.
You're
Thank you.
Next item is a path presentation by Mr. Golfman about the active transportation corridor.
Good evening, everybody.
Misha?
I'm Misha from Medora Path. And I, would you please pass those around? Would like to give you kind of an overview. I'd like to start by giving you an overview of what, maybe one more to York. And then you can pass those around for anybody who'd like to. Thank you. I'd like to give you an overview of services of Medora Path through the town of Waitsfield and talk with you about creating a position of the Active Transportation Corridor Implementation Coordinator that would be funded together by Town of Waitsfield, Town of Warren, and Medora Path in thirds. So I will start by doing an overview of what we do for path maintenance. We currently manage 11.5 miles of multi-use trails in the town of Waitsfield. That includes Yestermore Path, Austin Walk, Fiddler's Walk, Heart of the Valley, Millbrook Path, Waits Way, Spalding Greenway, and West Greenway. We mow 5 miles of trails weekly at an annual cost of $6,000, and the town contributes $2,500 to this effort. Thank you very much. We maintain the public bathroom at the Rec Hub. We remove snow from Heart of the Valley Trail. It's from Lawson's to Taste Place. We steward dog waste bag stations at an annual cost of $1,200, which we share with Steward MRV. And we coordinate volunteer efforts of 8 path stewards. So that's our path maintenance in Waitsfield. In educational programming, we offer 4 days of programming for Waitsfield Elementary School that's free of charge to the school. We offer 4 weeks of summer camps for children and families, and 1 week of winter programming for adults in February. And as of last summer, we offer canoe and e-cargo bike lending, free lending program to residents. For the active transportation corridor efforts, we have completed, as you know, active transportation corridor scoping study, and we have formed the 5-town implementation committee. In Waitsfield, we completed a wastewater path co-location engineering estimate at a cost of $8,000. We applied for segment 9 of transportation alternative funding for the section of the path Millbrook Bridge to Dugway Road, which we've discussed with you recently, and thank you for your support with that. Since then, we have to go to CVRPC to present this section to the CVRPC in order to obtain a letter of compliance that was necessary for this grant. We just got it on time. The state confirmed that they received it on time. We applied for the RTP, Recreational Trail Program funding for Fiddler's Walk improvements. This is our second year of applying. We didn't get the grant last year, so hopefully we'll get it this year. Better chances. And we are working with several landowners as we explore path connections in connectivity in Waitsfield. In other work that we're doing every year, we bring, well, this year we plan on bringing at least 350 participants and 400 spectators for the annual Med River Triathlon weekend. And we are now hosting a year-round AmeriCorps service member in service to the Valley, because in addition to working for the path, they're also helping other nonprofits and other work. It's really good. Looking ahead in 26, we're planning to conduct a socioeconomic study to quantify present and future benefits of trail recreation in the Med River Valley, complete the Attitude of Gratitude Recreational Ethics Project. It's a valley-wide project of CRV. Develop new signage for the Med River path from Warren to Waitsfield, so even our path is not complete, but people could follow along using the signs and markings. We would like to complete plans for the Austin walk improvements, secure funding for Section 9, organize active transportation coalition meeting at the State House, research and propose a valley-wide dog waste composting system. All this work, so I really enjoy being here in the center of Waitsfield. It's so fruitful and productive to work with the town and with other nonprofits at the Wait House. And even though I'm a sole full-time employee of the Med River Path, I enjoy many path volunteers and the wonderful active board and a 16-member implementation committee. That all to say that I cannot keep up with the work of the path. The path is leading trail recreation work in the valley. We're actively working together with others, including Med River Riders, etc., etc. And realistically, it was one thing to lead the scoping study and complete the scoping study and present it to you. It's the other thing to implement a valley-wide major infrastructure project. I need an implementation coordinator for this who would help me with boots on the ground. This is how it could work. This could be a half-time position, 20-hour a week. It could be funded through a public-private partnerships. I already met with Warren, and Warren is planning on putting this on the ballot to their voters. It actually would be a fairly inexpensive proposition to the towns because we will manage this position. And this is how it could, so what they're going to do is they're going to support me with every aspect of the active transportation corridor. They will identify, prepare, and administer all the private, state, and federal grants on behalf of Warren and Waitsfield. They'll support the work of, we have now 7 working groups of the implementation committee. We have funding, landowner, municipal, state, community engagement, economic study, and engineering groups. These are volunteer groups of professionals who are all working actively to make it happen, but managing them, it's a job in itself. It's a big task. And their compensation, so this is how I calculate it. At $35 an hour, 20 hours a week, I wrote down the compensation at $36,400. I've calculated the taxes, and I've added, since we won't be able to offer any kind of health insurance, I offered a health care contribution, which is how my position works. The board gives me a health care contribution so we can pay out of pocket instead of having medical insurance for some basic services. So there's an annual compensation, and if we contributed in equal thirds, which would be $15,000 per entity, here comes a reasonable living wage half-time compensation for this position. The last thing I wanted to point out to you that we are, as your nonprofit, are actively working on implementing 2023 Waitsfield Town Plan, which I included on the back side of this page. So this is, I believe, this is going to be an effective and inexpensive way towards implementing the town plan. So my ask would be if you'd be willing to discuss the possibility of putting this to Waitsfield voters, if they would approve starting this position. And then the path contributing a third would allow us to work for Moortown and Middlesex, but because there's nothing for us to implement there at the moment, it's really not so easy to ask them to contribute yet. But as we work, hopefully everybody else will pitch in too, and this could really be a very effective position as years go by.
And is that true for Facein as well?
Yeah, so Facein, it's true, but it's a kind of true where they say, this is great, but we don't have any frontage. Why should we? So on the surface, it's like, this is just private conversations with several members, and I'm going to Facein very shortly, Judge. And I think it's like we are actively pursuing connection between Warren and Waitsfield. It's within reach, and for the other towns, it's a little bit further away, so they need to warm up to it. But we are in conversations. I was recently presenting in both Middlesex and Moortown, and they're receptive and they're listening. They're not opposed.
I have a question. Misha, do you have a presentation or some materials for what you're asking for tonight?
He gave us a handout.
Can you send?
Okay.
Start this week.
Can you email that to me? This is Lisa Loomis asking.
Yes, Lisa, I will.
My understanding, I don't know if they have voted on it, but that the Warren Selectboard was considering not putting this in their budget, but putting it on as a special article contingent upon Waitsfield doing it as well. That's what I understand.
I checked in with Devin today about this.
That
they are, it's under consideration as a standalone subject, but it certainly would help them to have knowing that Waitsfield is doing the same thing in Waitsfield. Yeah.
Your timing's not great because we just got a letter from Medgar Valley Ambulance about their needs, and that put a big came a sticker shock that we haven't figured out. We're working on the part of the budget tonight about assessments and dues to organizations, and as you heard earlier, we have a lot of project needs and may well need to bring on our own project manager if we move forward with wastewater and or a town garage. So it's, we're kind of balancing all of those, I guess. Does anybody have any questions of Misha?
Yeah, I wanted to understand I guess the history of the path. That's had an executive director for a long time that's managed all the path activities, as I understand it. This role would be specific to the active transportation corridor, which is kind of an expansion of the path division. Is that
correct? I will continue doing all other work of the path, which I kind of illustrated. This is what we're doing in Waitsfield, but we're also doing it in Warren and moving into Moortown and kind of working path work for the whole valley as an organization. This position would focus 100% on the implementation of the active transportation corridor. As we've learned, this is no simple task. The grant application require full attention and honing in into like lots of details. The feedback that we get from grant givers after we don't get a grant requires full attention to implement. There's just so many details with permitting, like with every aspect of it, with seeking additional funding, working with private landowners alone it's one thing to have a conversation, it's the other thing to follow up with maps and proposal, working with Vermont Land Trust for public lands. So much coalition building. So if we want to connect, at least connect Warren and Waitsfield, let's not go further. If we want to connect Warren and Waitsfield, it's so within reach, and yet it could easily die down in the fact that it takes so much work that to do that work while maintaining the existing path and continuously working towards sustainable outdoor recreation in the valley, it's not possible for one person to do it. So that's what it's for. This is to focus 100% on fulfilling goals of Warren and Waitsfield and doing it within next 5 years. We can do it, but someone needs to just do that and nothing else.
So, follow-up question, devil's advocate question, I'll warn you, based on my wastewater experience. Same exact requirements for wastewater. I think you've heard some of those in some of the public meetings. Incredible amount of work in the grant applications, the design and permitting, and on and on and on. Way more than one person like our town administrator could possibly do. Much of that additional work has been done by volunteers like myself. Have you considered that with your board or other ways to get this done rather than hiring a new position?
The volunteers are doing a lot of work. We have a 16-member committee, but volunteers need to be managed, right? So we have a monthly meeting. It's a lot and 7 subcommittees. So engineering committee, where we have Mac Root here, Michael Duell, they done so much work to prepare for CVRPC meeting. I would have never been successful there if it wasn't for hours and hours they put into drawing plans, FEMA maps, but I had to coordinate all of that. In the meantime, other 6 committees, I am not doing what I should be doing. There's just like Candice is pulling together the state, like we pulled together state bike ride last fall. It was a great success, but following up that we said, now we're gonna have a meeting in Montpelier. That was in October. We still have not had that meeting. To pull off the meeting in Montpelier with state representatives, Transportation Committee, VTrans, Secretary of Transportation, it's just a lot, it's a lot of work, and that's necessary to do that, to meet with Senator Welch's office, Senator's office, right? Like this, it's more, so if I drop everything else for the work that we do for the community, the work that we've always done, and we're doing more of it for the community, sure, I could do that and nothing else, but is that what we want? We have 15 miles of highly used path. We have all that working, Fred knows, working with dog owners, like that is important, right? There's just so many things that are important. I don't know what to draw, and who would take on this work. In my skill set, I'd rather manage big picture and be there for the person who would do the detailed work. I would still come to your meetings. I think we will get further if I have a coordinator who would do that administrative work. Administrative work in that level kills me. So that's, I don't know if I answered your question, Judge.
Did you have something to say?
Just Lisa. I just think she had to take it down.
Yeah, I guess I just was trying to think about this in context. One, I didn't even, this is my first year on the select board, and I didn't know that we were getting maintenance of such an amazing sidewalk in the valley for a $2,500 contribution, which, to put it in perspective, is 0.25% of our road department budget. This request, $15,150 from Waitsfield, would be 2.25% of our road department budget. And I think given the value that the Mad River Path is providing economically already, and then looking forward, I was just putting it in, if the local option tax passes, for example. Right now, this is back of the napkin, but our total economic activity across the in-person retail, meals, alcohol, and rooms in 2024 was $65 million of transactions. If we increase that by $1.5 million maximum by sales times 6%, or basically times 1%, that would pay for itself. So that's a relatively small increase in total economic activity. And I think moving the ball forward to something that so many people have advocated for, asked me about, why don't you have a path that goes through the valley like Stowe? And I said, well, it's being worked on. And I've gone to the valley, to Stowe, to ride a bike safely. And so I would be in favor of an approach like Warren has taken, where we're not expending the money unless others are. But that's my 2 cents. I think it's pretty good value for money, and especially when compared to our car focused transportation budget.
Anybody else?
I guess you heard me say this before. You may start doubting me, but I've always been a believer in the active transportation corridor, and really want to see it happen. A concern I have in the back of my head is the kind of the incremental ask, right? Is there a bigger picture plan that would say, it's $15,000 this year, and presumably that position, like to get everything you have on this list done, that's probably a 5-year commitment of that $15,000, which may grow. What else? What's next? Is it a matching funds for the next grant? Is it more and more and more? That's important for me to understand, frankly,
Absolutely.
I hope for all of us to understand
sure.
the budget
Most
impact.
certainly concur.
It's a great question. So you have a copy of the scoping study. So this is why we did the scoping study, to estimate the cost. So we can go to the scoping study and look, I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, and look at the total cost of path implementation within the town of Waitsfield. Just like we did the last month, when 2 months back now, when we were applying for Transportation Alternatives Grant. It requires 20% local match. Every time we decide to pursue next section of the path that goes with the federal grant that requires local match, we will be coming back for local match. The good news are, between Warren and Waitsfield, we don't really have many of those sections. We are working very hard to avoid, in fact, applying for those federal grants. And if we find ways together to incentivize landowners to give us path access and make that construction way cheaper than it would be per mile if we're using federal money, we wouldn't need local match. We would be looking for other sources we would be fundraising. But when we complete the study, the economic study of what recreation development, sustainable recreation development will do to our tax revenue, I think we'll see that the investment in the path over next 5 years, say to connect Warren and Waitsfield, will quickly pay back tenfold in increased quality visitations. And that's this, in a way, by me asking you guys to help fund this position, saying we are, as your nonprofit, we are implementing town plan of multiple towns, and with a vision, with a long-term vision that would improve quality of life for all of us who live here, will improve safety tremendously, and will improve quality of experience for visitors. We all know, you talk about climate change. This is climate change adaptation. The winter is getting shorter. The 3 seasons are getting more comfortable and longer. We need to have 3-season recreation on par with our winter recreation. We talked about equity, we talked about people's life here. People need to have predictable work year-round. People have jobs in the winter, but they don't have year-round jobs. It's not good jobs. So what I'm proposing in the long term is a backbone that will create jobs, because it will be good for businesses. There will be more people staying at hotels. If we connect together all the existing inns, like LaRoe, that's already partially connected. What we're doing right now, by building the bridge across the Mill Brook, we're connecting LaRoe with the town, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's about a long game. It's about investing, incremental investment in a long plan. I cannot do it. The path, we cannot do it without you, the town, and maybe you cannot do it without us, the path. And if we work together, and I think what we're asking, compared to, say, town hiring a position, it may be less expensive. And you don't have to manage it, we will.
Yeah. Is there opportunity for grants to fund this position? I'm thinking of, again, parallel to wastewater, where kind of all the work we've done over the last 4 years has been paid for with primarily state, but some federal grants as well.
Yeah, in part it's going to be funded by grants, because what we're bringing into it from the path is going to come from, hopefully, from a Lentillite grant that we applied for, and we got last year, and we applied again, and we'll know by the end of the month, yes.
What support do you get from the rec district?
This year, Rec District gave us $5,000. $2,000 go towards mowing in all of the towns. $2,000 go towards completion of the bird education project that we're doing at the Waitsfield Elementary School. And $1,000 goes towards equipment for adventure programs.
So we have a lot on our agenda still, and we need to have a couple more budget presentations. We are working on the budget tonight and next Monday, and we'll be working on the warning and hopefully finalizing that. We need to finalize that next week. So if there's no other questions, I don't think we're prepared to make a decision tonight, but it's on the list of considerations, and I would expect if it did appear on the ballot, it would not be in our budget, it would be on a special item to be voted on separately from the budget. That's just my sense and preference.
Yeah, and if there's opportunity, I'll be happy to speak to the voters directly at the town meeting day. And I know that you guys have a lot on your plate, and you're considering a lot of like very big things, and I'm coming to you with a small thing, but I think the small thing is a part of a big picture. Please consider that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is, do you know what else? Do you know what?
Anne Marie's not here. And I don't know if Fred wants that. I mean, I feel
Thanks
pretty
everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you.
I feel pretty good about where we're at. I mean, we talked about it, and we can talk about it
Thanks,
again
Mac.
internally, but I think we have a plan.
So can we just move it into
I'm
the
okay.
budget discussion?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week even.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm.
Yes.
good with that.
So the agricultural tax stabilization agreement, we have not, neither York or I have done a whole lot of homework on this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bobby.
Let me know
Oh,
if you need more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, as we talked when the folks were here, I'm forgetting Priscilla, right? Yeah. I think my hope would be to move away from that locally funded program to current use. I think it's more advantageous. It might be more restrictive for the landowner to pay a penalty if they get out of it, but that's the cost of current use of tax reduction. I do feel badly, and I think this came out at the last meeting, that we dropped them without warning, and that was a slip up because we didn't have a town administrator. We didn't know it needed to be on the warning, and it just fell through the cracks. One thing York and I talked about was it's not necessarily a 3-year contract. It doesn't have to be voted on every 3 years. It can be a 1-year deal. I'm wondering about doing 1 year with the expectation that they should
It sunsets.
use that to sunset, yeah,
Sunsets after 1 year.
yeah.
I,
100% support that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great compromise.
Fairer to the property owners.
Allows
Which is
time
great.
for current use forestry plans and everything
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
they
So,
might have to scramble a little bit. A year
Yeah.
might be a little tight to pull it all together, but
No, I mean, if they have to put current use plans in by, what's the start of the program?
I think it's August.
Yeah, I think so it would be,
They'd have the relief and give them the time to start now and get it
Yes.
for, yeah.
yep.
exactly.
I'd make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Okay, the motion will be to prepare the language?
Yep, for 1 year.
Kind of like what we did with the lot.
Yep.
For a 1 year vote.
To prepare
1 year.
prepare the ballot warning language but the intent is to
One
extend
year,
the program for 1 year.
Extend it for 1 year, sunset in 1 year.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just a request, it's not in it, but I just want to know the dates of like when that, everything kind of happens.
It would be July, would be our fiscal year.
Yeah, so for that program, and then I'd love to give them guidance
Yeah.
on current use, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Okay. Proposals for Old Center Face Road, Center Face Road culverts. Consider awarding a contract. I reviewed them relatively briefly.
Here's a slight review.
Yeah, I looked up on it as well.
Oh wait, that's the wrong one, sorry.
That's not it.
Boop. Don't- Strike that.
That's later.
That's
We'll keep
later.
it, but-
Oh,
Wait, let me
yeah.
find
We'll
it.
keep it for later.
Here we go. I mean, yeah, the proposals were a lot.
Thank you. Hold on a second. Hey, Lisa,
Does everybody have one of these?
I'm assuming you just never put your hand down.
Oh, I tried to put my hand down, but I guess I didn't. I was telling it to lower my hand.
I got
There,
it.
did.
All right,
I got
thank
you.
Just speak up if you have anything.
This is like a really simple comparison. Essentially, there's one for just under 29,000, there's one for 30,000, one for 55,000. It's pretty late right now. I can say I tried to do a pretty thorough review overall, and I did message Charlie Goodman and Josh Rogers about this. To cut to the chase, and we could talk more about it if you'd like, the New England Consulting Engineers is $30,000, so it's just over $1,000 more than Harrington. However, it fully covers the permitting, and it has like a 30, 60, 90% design, which greatly, in my assessment, will reduce risk to make sure that the project can move forward in an appropriate way, especially with FEMA. So, in my opinion, that's probably the one I would recommend, is the New England Consulting Engineers. I did reach out, I did send these to FEMA last week. I've not heard back from them, just to see if they could give a review, and they said they were happy to, but.
That's Dexter?
What's that?
Dexter LaFever?
No, FEMA is.
No, the New England,
Oh, I don't,
I think so,
It says
yeah.
in the.
yeah, I think it is.
Can I just confirm the like funding amount and restrictions?
This is more than what FEMA had said. However, FEMA says that once the proposals come in, if we go through the appropriate RFP system, like way fundamentals, then they would reconsider these, and it should be covered.
Because
They felt quite confident.
What was the previously approved amount?
I don't remember, but it was, the first RFP, nobody submitted.
Right.
And so I went back to FEMA, I said, this will happen. They said, you don't have to have that. We will reconsider the cost when the proposals come in and when one is awarded. And I've asked them that like in 5 different ways, and they've said each time that it should be covered.
So you will get FEMA to sign off on before we sign a contract?
I will re-clarify again, now that we have real proposals.
So they said they
They've
would
seen the
review
proposals.
these and make sure they're,
They offered just to be nice. They said they did not have to review these.
Oh.
But as part of their process, and I talked to Tyler Billingsley about this too, they make a recommendation of what they think it's gonna cost for the A&E, but that doesn't mean it's what they will actually fund. They will fund what the proposals come in as. That is my understanding, and again, I feel like I've asked it multiple ways, and that the answer's always been the same.
I saw similarly that all three of them have FEMA experience, so working with FEMA on similar projects, so that was good. You got one way outlier in terms of cost on the high end, which if they all have relevant experience, I would chuck the high one. You're saying the same thing, the $55,000.
I think MSK is, their scope is, it is the most, but not, the cost benefit analysis is not almost double.
Yeah. What I don't understand, and you may understand better from your work with it, is the difference between New England and the other guys. I can't remember.
Harrington.
Harrington, you said it was permitting. One of the differences.
One of the differences is permitting.
Is that like FEMA permitting or state permitting?
No,
A&R?
mostly state permitting.
Got it.
Yep, A&R, et cetera, et cetera. That's, like to Charlie Goodman, that's not a game changer. But permitting is becoming more difficult. So if it was just permitting is the difference, I don't think that would be as big of a deal. But I do think that there's gonna be like this incremental 30, 60, 90% design. The scope of the New England for $1,000 more seems worth it.
Yeah, I would agree. That can, you can waste a lot of money on the design. If you stumble at the permitting and don't get the permit, then, you know, that money's kind of, the engineering work is down the drain if you don't get the permit.
And I hope that, assuming everything moves forward, when we go to the construction aspect, if we know permitting is done, that hopefully will mean that there's a decrease in what the construction cost will be also. I mean, permitting has to be paid for somehow, whether we do it in office, or the construction company does it, or the A&E does it. And for $1,000 more, given there's other benefits in their scope, probably is worth it.
Yeah, and it's $1,000 more, but that's someone else is paying for it. FEMA's paying for it.
That's
Yeah, so that, keeping it off our, like you or Josh or Charlie, keeping it off your plate for $1,000 more that FEMA's gonna pay for, like, yeah.
And the New
let's do that.
New England Consulting Engineers was like clear, it was like, we do the permitting from beginning to end, which really is nice. Permitting is very difficult. But I think
Seems worth it to me.
MSK Engineering, I did not see where they stated that they would coordinate with A&R. It may be there, but I didn't see it. The other two, Harrington and New England Consulting, both mentioned that they would coordinate with A&R, but I did not see it with MSK.
Yeah,
So that speaks kind of favorably of York's recommendation then.
Yes, yes.
yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable recommending New England Consulting.
I'm good with it.
Want to make a motion?
Very well pitched. I make a motion to accept the, is it accept the bid? Or
Accept the bid and authorize town
accept the bid
administrator.
and
to sign.
authorize the town administrator to sign a contract with New England Consulting Engineers.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cool.
And I again, I will work with FEMA and make sure that this is all fair and, you know, due diligence.
And I'm going to step away from the next item. I'm going to deputize you, Dave.
Okay. David's taking it. Sorry.
I have a conflict.
I just lost my agenda.
It's just a tiny one.
All I say is if you authorize anybody to sign anything, authorize York.
And technically, you don't have to leave the room, but you're welcome to.
I'm going to go to that.
Okay. Oh, wait a second. So David,
Yeah, I'm just looking for the page they're on.
Yeah.
are you looking for her?
Yes.
Oh, her email? Yeah, sorry. Probably couldn't set the page number.
I think it's the most excellent idea.
Yeah, I mean, we did this last year.
We did.
And worked great last year. There's a really compressed window, right, where we have to get everything ready to go to the printer in like 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Valerie via email and text.
Got it.
And I think she's rightfully a little nervous, and partially it's because we started the budget a little later. And it's my first time, I think, ensuring that it's a really great town report.
Yep.
And there's a lot going on right now. If I could put 100% of my time into the town report, I think it would be a different story, but there's like a million moving parts right now. So I would love the support of Valerie.
To step back and summarize, it's to approve a proposal to authorize Valerie Capels to assist the town administrator with the 2025 town report. And there's a memo in here that outlines the costs and details, and I would make a motion to approve that.
Can you say that, just so it's on the record, why not?
I would make a motion to,
It says how many hours, up to how many
Oh,
hours.
you want me to read that?
Yeah, please.
$75 per hour, ballpark estimate 20 hours. And I would make a motion to approve that, that offer. What's the right way to say that?
Yeah, approve the proposal and.
Approve the proposal.
Engage Valerie.
And engage
Capels.
Valerie.
Yeah.
And you're good with the time and the amount?
Yeah, I mean, that's the window we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good.
She knows the work that's gotta be done.
20 hours will be enough to really dot the i's and cross the t's.
I think that's what we did last year.
And I don't think we did it yet, and authorize York to get the signature.
I'll second that extended motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I appreciate that.
We're fortunate to have her.
Yeah,
To do this.
absolutely.
I look forward to, like, anytime I can talk to Valerie, we did it.
All
It's
done,
not-
Brian.
It's a huge benefit. I mean,
Yeah.
to not take advantage of, like, even just the conversations Valerie and I can have. I mean, she has a lot of experience.
After a long and deliberate.
We're away from being at each other's throats.
Okay.
That's good.
Let's
I think we kind of caught up.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, just rolling through it in a good way.
Is anybody on right now? Not Valerie. Is Lisa on? Lisa's on, so I'm gonna share my screen, so.
So do we, in the, I don't care what order, in the packet, the library budget was in there, is that for discussion or
Yeah.
just background to the broader budget?
It was because last week, there were questions about why it was a pretty big increase. And I talked to.
Okay. Right,
um,
yep.
I will add, just to finish the Joslin Library, I did talk to Josh Rogers. They are gonna take on the mowing, which is
Cool.
it's $50 a mow. And I have not talked about the idea, but I think that Brian and I discussed maybe there's an opening and a closing to their grounds every year, which is about $500 each. And say, can we just have a community organized event and get rid of that? And that would be $1,000 less. So my hope is that maybe we can.
It's not a very big.
No, it's very small. So my hope is that we can, drop this a little bit, and next week the number will be a little lower for the library. I hope.
But mowing that little patch, can they get the tractor in there? Or are they gonna have to mow it with a push mower?
I did not
It's so
ask
small,
that.
I don't know.
I agree.
It's so small, I can't see.
They can get the tractor in there from Bridge Street. I don't know how they'll deal with the slope. I don't know how.
No, they won't do the slope.
But Josh knows that lawn, and he said he's happy to have his crew take it on.
If Josh is happy, I'm ecstatic.
Because I wondered the same thing. I was like, I was afraid he was gonna say something, and be like, I'm not, but he said, okay. And
Cool.
I mean, nobody knows these parks and roads better than Josh. So hopefully.
Just for the record, I'll mention it next time I see Josh, you should see him first. The sidewalks have never been better maintained in the wintertime.
Chad will very much appreciate that.
I mean, when we contracted it out, they did a decent job, but not like it's been done.
There's been a lot of back and forth of utilizing Chad's time, and right now it's been intentional to have him just focus on the sidewalk. And I think that is case in point.
Did that one issue get solved?
Which one?
The one where the snow was getting piled up on the...
Yep,
Okay,
yep. Josh helped Chad figure out a better way.
better way.
I mean, the
Good.
biggest issue right now is the corner of Bridge Street and Main Street. On Main Street where, you know, the sidewalk is right next to Kelly's building. The ice built up like this high. And so Chad spent hours a week ago breaking the ice up.
I saw that.
And there's really nothing to do about it. Without a gutter there, basically, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that's a frustration to Chad, and others have expressed a disappointment in that ice buildup, because it's dangerous. But Chad is doing everything he can.
Okay.
I think I filled in every single spot here. You saw the sheriff's department billing. It went up a little bit this year. So what, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
So what I did, and this can change, is I did the best of my ability estimate about similar service to this year. And I estimate that would be $39,550, which is a 4% increase.
That's their hourly increase and the mileage increase.
To the best of my, yeah, I
Mileage
don't
is-
know the exact breakdown of mileage and hours, so this was my best guess.
We did cut them back, their amount of patrol, pretty seriously last year because the price really went up.
Yeah.
This is much more digestible increase.
Yeah, so this is something I did by myself, and you guys can decide what you want to do with that. Do you want to?
That's good, go ahead.
Animal officer, we had a
Try to-
discussion, and we upped it to 1,500. That's a 50% increase.
Boy, I quit just the wrong time.
Well, it's still vacant, Fred.
You know, if you'd offered me that money to begin with, I'd still be the ACO.
Well, it's vacant. Dog pound fees, we kept level. Also, Fred, the emergency management upping from 1,200 to 1,500, which is a 25% increase. Fire warden, same. Fire hydrant maintenance, we will get rid of that line. Fire protection contribution, I asked Robin Morris about this, we're keeping that level. Generator expense goes up. It might be able to drop a little bit, but the truth is maintaining our generators is more than $1,000. So, and that's just based on a contract. Insurance, this is the one I have not heard on. I don't know, so I kept that level for now. Miscellaneous, we have to 450 based on previous years. Training stayed the same. Town health officer stayed the same.
The health officer hadn't gotten an increase in quite a while. I think that should be 1,000.
No comment. I mean, it's improper for me to comment.
No.
I dropped the constable $1,000 just based on, we didn't spend anything, 25, we budgeted, I don't think I've seen a bill yet for him. The constable did do a little bit of work for us delivering, but right now I felt comfortable dropping to 6,500.
I feel like we could drop it further.
We probably could.
Well, why not?
Fine. I mean, it would be, I think it would be an unusual and uncommon situation where we need to bring them in for a big project. So, since we're spent, maybe go to 5.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with that. I just didn't want to make a uniform decision.
So just to confirm, that's no actual expenditures there in the last 2 years?
He hasn't billed for them yet, but it's only a few hours.
Yeah, here's 25 actual.
Got it.
Right. Where the sheriff's department, I think, is doing regular patrolling, and all the constable is really on an as call or an on-call basis.
Well, the value of him is having him serving letters.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's, yeah.
And he has a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I can't remember what his rate is, but it would be unlikely that we would have enough of those calls to get to $5,000.
Yeah.
I hope. A question going back.
$5,000, I thought it was 500.
5,000.
5,000?
The last 2 years, it's been budgeted at 7,500.
Oh, you could probably drop it even more, couldn't we? 5,000?
I'm good for 4.
Yeah.
But
I think that
yes.
makes sense.
I
Going
mean,
back
that-
a few,
Makes me.
Brian, you may know this, the fire protection, to me, that's the fire hydrants.
That's right.
But isn't that formulaic based on the user fees and the
Yeah, it was
equivalent
a long
ERUs?
negotiation between it was a pretty detailed negotiation. I don't remember what it's based on.
I think it's based on ERUs and.
I do too.
It is, I think it was 16 ERUs or something, but my point is like the number of ERUs, I don't think has changed, but I think the fees have continued to come down as more users join. Right?
I can read Robin's email if you'd like.
Yeah,
I would recommend maintaining that budget, which comprises 44 ERUs at $570 per year. I expect the FY27 rate will be equal or similar to the additional ERUs connected in the last 12 months. So he doesn't expect the $570 to change much.
But I keep hearing of new businesses who must be multiple ERUs joining. Isn't that going to drive down the user fee?
What we've been doing is the water department has been paying for the hookups, so we're not reducing
Okay,
the debt service until that we pay back.
got it. Okay.
They pay back the
Yeah.
amount that we gave them.
Yep,
We're
That makes
essentially
sense.
adding a line in the debt
Yeah.
service.
that makes sense. Okay, thank you for that.
But ultimately,
There should be
it will
additional
go down.
ERUs joining next year.
So that's
In this water department, there's a two-way street too, in that they pay an administrative fee, so they pay a portion of York's salary. They pay for hydrant snow removal. I think there's one other thing.
Yeah, there's at least a few things.
Yeah.
There might be
Okay.
more than that, but I don't.
So I don't remember it all, yeah.
Well, that's exciting, because that's dropped by $137. I think all these numbers are right. Central Vermont Regional Planning, it goes up, it's a 3% increase, $69. Johnson Memorial Library, as we talked about, is a 6% increase.
But we'll bring that
But
down.
we're hoping to bring it down probably 1,500 plus.
We do 1,000 for the cleanup and then both, probably $2,000 or.
Yeah,
50,
I mean,
yeah.
and slightly split with Facein, but I don't know, at any rate. Resource Management Alliance, level, Planning District, which we discussed, was a 5% increase, and that is almost purely all for the audit, is that correct, Dave?
Yes,
And they've never had an audit before, and this will be their
Correct.
first audit.
correct.
MRV Recreation District, constant 40,000. The LCT, I actually just heard back today. I had estimated 3,800 and it's actually 3,827, so we're pretty close. And that is a per resident, is the way they charge. So there's a certain rate per resident. Washington County Tax was one that has gone up 10%, up $3,500. My memory is, because we talked on the phone, was most of that is judicial related. But again, they said something about 2 sinkholes that they have to fix, and I assume that's maybe at the county property, because
Either the sheriff's office or the courthouse.
that's
There's
it,
two
right?
courthouses.
And I kind of hope to reconnect with them, but it's easier said than done. I think their office is open half a day a week. Green Mountain Transit, this, we finally heard back on this Thursday or Friday. We're hoping level funding, but I think maybe it's been discussed that I think July 1st or August 1st is changing hands. A new company, and I can't remember what the new company's called. And then, of course, MRVAS asked for level funding this year, included in the packet, and also emailed to you separately, but it's the last few pages of the packet. They're requesting an additional $24,000 from Waitsfield, $24,125 maybe, from Waitsfield because of 911. They were alerted at the beginning of December for Champlain Telecom that the device that's on top of their building to allow for 911 calls creates liability issues for Champlain Telecom. Champlain Telecom agreed to leave it up until the end of January. They put in a substantial amount of research apparently, and the results, winner was to hire the dispatch service that our fire department uses. If you want And then I did reach out again to Mark about breakdowns, and he just said, look at the memo I sent, and that breaks it down. And it's essentially the 3-year average of calls for Facein is 32 calls per year. Waitsfield is 259, and that's why the total amount from Facein is $9,475 versus this year $24,125 for Waitsfield.
Why is it so much lower?
Call volume. Facein, here's the.
Well, yeah, that call volume is likely because of Route 100.
What do you mean?
Actually, that's, I guess, Route 17 too, I guess.
Is that a one-time assessment?
The 24,000?
Yeah.
No, that would be annual. And on top of that, this year they asked for 13,000 level funding, but next year, and this is in the memo, I think it was 7,000 more. So next year that 13,000 is going to be 20,000 plus the 24-ish thousand. We do spend about $33,000 a year for the fire department.
Well, it's really for
dispatch.
Because we make a $10,000 contribution to their,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I just wonder if there's anything we can do.
We make that escrow contribution, yeah, for the future system. Is there, do they both have to have separate dispatches?
You wouldn't believe how complicated the system is and how much politics is in it.
It seems pretty
It
broken.
seems like every time there's a fire call, ambulance gets alerted, and vice versa, I thought.
Well, yeah, anytime the ambulance rolls to an auto crash, the fire trucks have to go for hazmat reasons. So, yeah. I, for the life of me, don't understand why the PSAT, the 911 call center, can't, with, I think it's called Alert 911, directly page the ambulance or the fire. I don't understand why we have to go through Capital West, now called Capital Dispatch, and then to our people. I am mystified.
It feels a little, I'm actually not going to use any words. I'm just going to stop talking.
And a component of this problem is aging technology. Folks want to hang on to their radios and their repeaters, but the technology is evolving to cellular and use, which would allow more direct dispatching. Brian knows I've been sputtering on this for years. At some point, it's not that distant in the future, it is all going to be cellular. And pumping money into repeaters and radios is a waste of money, in my opinion.
Unless
But I'm just sputtering. We have to do what they've got.
And cellular
worked out.
can go out, right? I only say that because my parents live in North Carolina during the
So
week.
can a
They didn't have-
repeater go out?
They didn't have mobile reception for weeks, actually. And actually, it took them almost a year to get internet back. But yes, I agree.
Repeaters go down too. It's technology.
I would love to meet with Mark and the other people.
Could they come in next week?
I'm happy to ask. I had not asked it
Okay.
because I never heard back, but.
I came into the office Friday, to meet with York, he had a very sad face and said, just blew a hole in the budget.
I mean, we worked really hard at having this budget, and the 24,000 is something we were not expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to,
thought that was like a one-time capital investment thing, but it's,
Yeah.
they're saying like
dispatches-
annual 24 grand?
Dispatch.
Wow.
Who was the vendor before? To give less than a month's notice for such a big item?
Telephone.
It was
right?
Champlain Telecom. And
No,
I-
it said Waitsfield Telecom notified MRVAS that the vendor supporting our fire bar
Oh, yeah.
would cease software support and maintenance.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
Did they go
don't.
bankrupt or?
I mean, it says liability, does it not? I haven't read it now in several days.
So
Well, I
it says
think
the
the
vendor was quitting,
Yeah, it wasn't going to support the
wasn't
software.
gonna support it, and then Waitsfield Telecom said it couldn't leave the fire bar up for liability reasons.
That's right. Thank you. I mean, I would love not only for Mark to come, but maybe see if we can meet, just to have a better understanding before we get to next Monday.
Why don't we do that?
I mean, I trust them that they've done their due diligence.
I just want to flag, that Waitsfield Telecom, I'm just reading this again, has only agreed to take on the liability of hosting an unsupported fire bar until January 31st.
Correct.
If there's nothing installed or no other solution made, the ambulance service will have no direct link to the 911 system, says the memo.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is when we make sure we have the conversation and think creatively and make sure that every box was checked of what the alternatives are. Not questioning that they did their best, just so we're in agreement and can understand what happened.
Yeah, see if there's any way of
I mean,
compromising this.
You have to wonder, like, if the fire station and the MRVS were touching, they were one building, would that have changed the dispatch? Because they're about one building
Well,
apart.
Mervis has always relied on their own volunteer dispatchers, which
That's right.
has saved them tons of money over the years.
Yeah.
And they're very fortunate to have that dedicated core people to be dispatchers.
That's right.
Where the fire department is relied completely on Capital West, Capital Dispatch.
And so
I just think with the new software systems that are coming out, there should be somewhat, I haven't completely digested that state communications plan. I'll try to do so before next meeting.
If you can set up a time, some of the Mervis folks can come, let us know and we'll see if two of us can show up.
Okay. And that could be there or here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and do you want me to just see who would be interested in going? You, Dave, Josh, Fred, is there a way that, or just put the feelers out and see who can go?
Two of us can go.
See who can go.
Okay.
I mean, I'll go if I'm available. I'm much more flexible this week than last.
And so that number is the estimated annual incremental billings from Capital Dispatch, is that right?
That's how
I believe so, because
We're not
it's
cutting them a check
billed
now,
per-
but, yeah.
That's right.
And there's no, and they will be installing whatever they need to do. I was confused about this. Moving to a third-party dispatch service will reduce MRVAS's telephone expenses by approximately $22,000 a year, but even with this savings, higher contracted training costs, rig maintenance, and new officer manager benefits result in us. Okay. Just don't see where that's.
Getting rid of phone lines does save a lot of money.
I don't see how getting rid of expenses results in a decrease in income. I can see.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying even with these savings, higher contracted training costs, rig maintenance, new officer manager benefits result in a significant decrease in net income. So
Okay, I see.
sounds like there's other items going up more in their budget.
Net ordinary.
Okay,
See that.
so you'll do that?
So right now, I've not built that into the spreadsheet. I actually added a line for a little bit, and then I put 24,000, and I took it away. So right now, what do you want me to do? Wait on that?
Yeah, let's wait until next week.
Miscellaneous compound is stuck same. Maintenance of parks still 6,000. Steward MRV still 8,000. Trail maintenance still 3,000. Solar array maintenance. As of now, we're sticking with 1,500. Membership fees 100. MRVT, TV meeting coverage. Thank you, John. Going up 13%. 4,000. 4,500. Other, and then cemetery commission, went from 15,000 to 15,500, which is a 3% increase.
Which was consistent with what their prediction was last year when they met with us. Of what they thought they would.
That's a 3% increase for those three items, those miscellaneous public safety and dues and assessments.
before the MRVAS.
But not counting the, yes, thank you, Josh, not counting the 24,000 for MRBS
Yeah.
purpose. But so those are the last three, and then next week, my hope is that then we'll pull them all together and be able to see everything. The only things we haven't gone over, I haven't put the salaries in to figure out Medicaid, FICA, et cetera, but that's a spreadsheet that tells us what it will be. So that will be the last piece in next week's, and then everything else out.
With short-term health care savings with the new plan, I still think we're under the rate of inflation. Even with this, I don't think we'll be above 3%. Maybe I'm hopeful thinking.
Knock, knock.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to fix those the pound references. In the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the equation, I need to fix the equation.
I wonder, as we put all that together, ever since I've been involved anyway, we've had a 0.3% estimated increase in the grand list value. Last year was like more than double that.
Yeah.
Is that something we should reconsider to be more realistic on the
That's interesting.
revenue side?
Yeah, I'm not.
Has there been any further estimates made?
No. We should I'll reach out to Spencer to see what he thinks.
You wanted to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Last year, how much was it last year?
It was 0.8%.
So 0.5% more than, I don't know that there's been as much stuff coming online now. I think there were a lot of COs issued the prior year.
Mm-hmm.
But we should check. Really, also, we should check with JB, what permitting, how many.
Right.
That'd be
how many
good to have like a
20,000
summary of that too.
How many 20,000 square foot houses have we built?
Okay. Do you want to go through the revenues?
Yeah. So we've gone through road, fire, town operations, public safety, dues. We're pretty much have been through all the expenses.
Yeah.
There's still a couple of questions, but.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't put all the FICAs and stuff in there. Sorry, 1 second. I'm having computer trouble downstairs, and so. Sorry, let me see if.
But next week, we really have to
Yeah.
be able to put all this together into a single doc.
We
and
need to
understand.
have it done for next week. We can make a few changes to cells, but we should have it all ready to go.
Yeah, because that'll be the 26th, I think, which really gives us a week before,
Yeah.
or not even, because it's, January, not February.
No, I think we should, we need to know the bottom line so we can draft the articles.
Yeah.
I'm going to share just from I can't pull up the town. Sorry, that's not. Yes, it is.
We do have it in our packet.
Yep, that's what we're going to look at. It's the only.
This is
page?
the-
It's my
What page of the packet?
76. Wait, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. So this is not the Excel sheet, but this was provided by Sandy and Steve.
So, taxes is what we fill in when we figure out where we are,
Right.
where we're lacking everywhere else.
It looks like they're looking for an increase in zoning income. I don't know. I assume that was a conversation with JB. That was the day I was out sick.
Let's just
A slight
double check,
increase in
but yeah.
state aid to highways, which should be based on the calculation. Because that's just
At
calculation.
some point, we might want to see if JB or we should, I don't know that we've looked at our zoning fees in a long time.
We did.
Did we?
Not
We did
too long
once.
ago. Yeah, last year, the year before,
Oh, really?
we updated
Okay,
kind of across the board.
What's the deal with the penalties? Sorry, we just discussed that. How is that?
What's that?
Penalty budget year?
Yeah,
How does that work?
I have no idea.
Is this not,
Like in 12th place.
I put all this into this, my actual Excel spreadsheet, and now,
That's,
is that not delinquent?
yes.
This is delinquent, I think, tax, so
I
money
thought I heard
comes
from
in.
somewhere else that it was way lower. The amount of
We
delinquent
estimate
taxes.
about 10,000, and so, but the truth is, whatever comes in as the penalty, then goes to the delinquent tax collector. So there's an interest for delinquent tax, and then there's the fine. And then the fine goes all to the delinquent tax collector, and the interest comes to the town.
So this is,
So it really offsets, whatever the income is, the revenue is offset by the expense. 100, so it's 100% comes in, 100% goes out.
yep.
And is that facing fire department, that's 40% of the budget, of the fire budget?
Well,
That's how I,
hold on one sec. Isn't the interest that we charge on delinquent amounts much higher than the interest we were getting?
the interest goes up every, like, month, like at the first month it's 1%, then
Well,
it goes to 3.
I thought it was, it's low until like February or March or something, and then it jumps up. And
Oh,
some
yeah.
people wait until
Right.
right before the interest rate jumps up. And we get the interest, they get the fee.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave that to.
I assume that's right about the phased in, yes.
Well, we'll look at we'll figure that
I
out.
think it reimburses.
Yeah.
Admin services is, they went up by
Yeah.
3,000, 2,500.
And that's also, okay, yeah.
Current use, they're estimating a slight increase. And those all stay the same. And I suspect these all stay the same.
And just a reminder, I'm not sure where you have it, but we need to add the agricultural program.
That will be
Somewhere.
shown, it won't be shown in the budget, it'll be shown as a reduction in the grand list.
Okay.
Or a credit on the grand list. That's what
Yeah, it shows it in the town report really well.
shows it there. And we need to figure that out. What we're talking about in terms of,
That's a good conversation I have with Sandy and Steve too.
yes,
Sandy knows that like the back of her hand.
yeah.
So in terms of revenues, it looks, pretty much about the same. I don't know.
You haven't,
Again, these are in my Excel spreadsheet, but I can't pull it up right now.
yeah.
Do we, that last line item on the bottom of the sheet, the Spalding settlement, my limited recollection is there's like $1,000 a month or something. The settlement was that they would continue to pay $1,000 a month. So I'm guessing that's what the 12,000 reflects.
Yeah, I'm not sure, how much was the total? Because
It's about 12,000.
they've already paid some, but
They
then they
paid
stopped paying.
2 or 3 months, yep. But if it's not paid, then by the date of the agreement, then it just becomes a lien on the house. So it's not revenue in the bank necessarily, and so that
Well, that's
probably
that's
should
probably
be.
what I'm wondering. Do we want to
No,
include it as revenue?
I think we'll probably take that off.
Yeah.
I mean, well, hopefully it will be revenue, but I don't think we'll count for it.
Did you get,
Thank
did
you.
you talk to Robin about the water operations reimbursement?
I don't think so. That's where Robin and I are meeting this Wednesday to go over all the water.
Let me know when that is.
I can tell you right now if you want to know. 10:30 or 10:30.
I might speak now.
Are there any questions? I mean, again, I have a lot of work to pull it all together, but in Friday's packet, everything should be finished. And maybe a few questions for the select board. I had a couple questions actually. One, the line painting, I'm not quite sure what we decided. If we decided we wanted to do East Warren Road. If we do, I would like to put that, unless we were gonna do that in the reserve, but I don't think so. If we wanna do that, I wanna make sure we show that in the budget.
I was wondering about
I'm not sure we settled on that.
if we just do it with our balance, our unassigned balance in the spring.
Yeah, because I think it was in the $5,000
Yeah.
range
That's
was
right.
our,
I'd hate to wait until,
Okay, so I won't do anything on that. And the other one is,
well, you might want to look at that, because we're going to have to do other painting.
so right now I increased it just the amount for Bridge Street. So if we
Okay.
want to go above and beyond that, so right now is written in draft form, it's like $1,500, $2,000 more.
Yeah, what do you think about doing that, just eating it in the spring?
I'm okay with that.
And then not have to put it next year?
Can we get on the work list?
Yeah, that's what we, hopefully. I mean, Josh has reached out. He's not a big fan of it, but I'm not worried about it. I think it has more to do with bicycles safety than letting people use their self-driving cars to get down to town.
I think you're probably right. The other one is the reserve for the fire hydrant in the corner of Ralston and East Warren Road. If we want to plan for that.
Did you ever get the Kingsbury?
No. So I don't. The best communication with Kingsbury is always through Josh. But if we want to show that, then I don't know if you want to show that in
Can you call them up and be like, hey?
Again.
I think in the draft
Who should this be getting to?
capital budget, I did increase that significantly. Like we had it in there at 10 grand, I think, and I significantly increased that, even though we may not have the final quote. I think we should still, sounds like there's still a need, desire to do it. We have the landowner on board.
What fund, reserve fund do you use?
We had it as a line item in the building and equipment repairs.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird place to put it, but.
It works.
Building and repairs.
I'm gonna call the
And
fire, the hydrant. Sorry.
Assuming that's not a split, with Facein, it's in the fire department budget, not the road budget, and I'm assuming that's, like, we would pay 100% of that as
Yes.
opposed
I
to
think
splitting
so,
that with
yeah.
Facein. Just
That's
feels
not,
like
yeah,
none of their.
that's ours.
Yeah,
We own it.
yeah.
I'm gonna call the fire safety grant program that says it's only for dry. Let's see. Hey,
Yeah. So you'll do that?
yeah, I'll call them.
Anything else?
No? I think
I mean, I think it's a tight budget.
it is a tight budget.
I'm not sure we could do much better.
We still have a couple of capital improvement plan decisions to make. But I think we should get through the budget and then see how
Yeah,
much room we
that
have.
can be the last variable.
Yeah.
Well, trying to finish everything for the budget, not counting capital. I'm trying to do it by Wednesday even.
But we didn't, like restroom, recreation, conservation.
Right, yeah.
I think we're going back and forth on paving.
So if we revisit that, we could revisit it now, or we could revisit it next.
Yeah, I think we should revisit
next
it when
week
we have
when
a bottom line.
the whole
Yeah.
thing all put together.
You might find that we have more breathing space, or might
Yeah.
need to tighten up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay,
Cybersecurity?
cyber and IT, I passed those out.
I'm just gonna run to the restroom. I went over there for this, I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Do you want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
So I did not include, Lisa's on right now and anyone watching, I did not include this in the meeting packet because there's some sensitive information in the proposals. So I just wanted to be clear about that. I did create a little document comparing the 4 most likely
Wait, let me just ask a question. You're talking about the cybersecurity stuff?
IT and cybersecurity proposals, yes, Lisa.
Yeah, I don't need to know that. I will take this as an excellent time to exit stage left.
Hey, Lisa,
Yes.
are you aware of the water line leak?
I heard something about that in one of the prior meetings. Has it been found?
No, they're working on it now. They chlorinated the water today. We didn't find out he needed to do that until last Wednesday afternoon, after you had gone to press. But he's isolating the segments of the system because he's determined that it's not any of the users. It's in the main distribution system. So the next four nights, he's gonna be isolating segments of the system. I can't explain it all clearly. And between 2 and 4 in the morning, seeing how the flows are working in different parts along different segments.
That's right.
Wow.
Lisa, so it's gone, so our normal, before December 11th, we usually use 40,000 gallons per day of water. We're at 100,000 gallons per day right now.
All right, I'll touch base with you. You guys finish this meeting and I'll touch base with you. One of either you, Brian, or you, York, tomorrow to get the rest of that and make sure I'll get something online right away tomorrow, just because people should know.
Yeah,
That's a big.
People may have loss of water pressure, but mostly like the quarantine is gonna be 2 to 4 in the morning. So Nate's trying to limit.
And if they see a big pond in their backyard, let us know.
All right, I'll catch it. We'll sort that out tomorrow, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So essentially, there were multiple proposals. I broke it down to these final rural solutions, Tech Group, North Branch, and RB Technologies. They were all really great. They're great people, met with all of them. In many ways, there's similarities and there's slight differences between all of them. I don't know what you want me to say entirely. I can say that Rural Solutions took the time to come out here Friday and kind of did a free audit. He was here for pushing 4 hours, which was great. We also visited the town garage and the general weight house and the fire station. Their proposal right now is only town garage and this building, but now I understand a lot more. Like if we wanted to increase the capabilities of the general weight house for the renters, for example, that's something we could add. It's $150 per building.
Would it be, is it just physical structures or is it kind of like server stuff? Is the water commission and potentially sewer covered in this?
Yes, because
we're calling the other IT presentation we got. Other security.
That's right. They're all in this building. And it's a good question. I mean, I'll just say for wastewater, there's conversations, and the plan is, since it's not built yet, that there's going to be cybersecurity built into the wastewater system before it's even built,
good.
Which is going to be awesome.
Good plan.
I hesitate to make a recommendation unless you want me to. Again, I understand Rural Solutions the best because they've been really communicative, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, well done, well done.
Got my bedtime reading?
9:15.
Yeah.
Recording stopped.
What do you got there?
60 views.
60, that's the record.